My name is Chadwick. I'm a DaVinci Resolve Master Trainer and finishing artist based here in New York, and I work on commercials. But what I want to do today is I want to share with you how you can actually shrink your files down while making it easier to edit with, to share over cloud storage, but more importantly, how do you retain the exact pixel perfect original quality for just the frames you used on a timeline to send to someone for color correction or for visual effects? We're going to use Blackmagic Cloud Storage and a Blackmagic Cloud library to do that, along with the media management tool. 130 gigs down to 5 or 6 gigs. That's a lot more manageable, and this is the original pixel data, quality, timecode, all that. It's actually not that difficult. You have all the tools you need. Let's check it out. Here on my home machine, I'm going to start from scratch. We're on the Cloud tab of DaVinci Resolve Studio 21 in a cloud library. There's other tutorials that will show you how to set that up. We'll start with a new project. I'll call this one Collab with Me, and just give it a location that you have access to. Basically what the location it's asking for here for your project media is if you create files, like generate a voiceover file within the project, that's where it will place it, as well as where it's going to download assets for the remote user. So if they are adding stuff to the project, that's how you are able to get access to that as well. It downloads it to this location. We do want to share with multiple users. Yeah, that's what this is all about, collaboration. And we can all be in the same project at the same time. And then synchronize with Blackmagic Cloud. This is the storage aspect of it. You want to do what's called a sync proxies only or a proxy only project. So we're going to sync proxies for all the frames, for all the footage, but only selectively sync originals for the frames that we need in our final timelines. That's the goal of today. So that's what I got there. I've got don't allow remote cameras because I'm using Sony cameras and they don't have this feature. I'll hit click create, and to speed things up, I've already created a timeline with footage so we don't have to see me edit, but it's essentially 130 gigs of footage. I'll just create a bin. I'll call this one offline edit, something like that. Double click into it, and then if you right click, you can come over here and say import any sort of timeline, and I'm just going to import the DRT that has linked media into it. And when I do that, sure, I'll take on all of the settings automatically or auto magically. I'll click import. That's a new import window for Resolve 21, which is fantastic. And this already has proxies created. How do I know that? There's a badge down here that says HQ. When you start up a project, it wants to default to high quality, but in the upper right of the viewer, you can change this to prefer proxies. You'll see there's a purple PXY badge. What that means is there's a low resolution that's the exact same duration that's living right next to the originals. I had previously ran this down here, and one other thing that's happened in the background before I even get to it, you can see there's a Blackmagic Cloud proxy, a Blackmagic Cloud synchronization button, and it's already taken the proxy files, which was 144 megabytes of H.265 proxies, and sent those up to the cloud before I could even finish explaining what was happening. Now the project itself has 131 gigabytes of footage. It was all trimmed down to this little timeline that's like just under 3 minutes long. Now, if you don't have the automatic proxies turned on, I would turn it on if you don't have those already. That can easily be accessed down here from the Cloud tab, and you can hit the project settings icon that's in there, the little gear cog. That takes you directly to the page inside of the project settings to enable it. So Blackmagic Cloud, you can say generate proxies automatically. And what that means is from this point forward, if you drag new media in here, it generates a proxy at the same location, and it will use that media to send to someone else that's collaborating. So let's open this same project on another machine, like somewhere. We'll pretend there's somewhere else in the world, but it's literally the computer behind me. But it's going to download these proxies that we had just uploaded over there. If you have the space for it, the ProRes 422 is actually ProRes Proxy, so it's a very edit-friendly codec. It's also a little bit larger, quite a bit larger actually, but you know, these are all good options that are built into here, and you just don't have to think about them at all. That's the best part. It makes it super simple. So to get over to the machine, I'm just going to use my jump desktop. Takes me over to the computer that's behind me. When I come to this page here, if it was newly created, since I was just here, I'll just hit the refresh button at the top right there. That'll show any new projects like this one called Collab with Me. Open it up. And when you open it up for the first time, it's going to ask you on the remote machine, where do I want the files located or stored, sorry. And you just can choose the location here. It's going to default to the user home folder on a Mac and in a folder called DaVinci Resolve Media. Sure, that's fine. And then we're doing sync proxies only. That's the key here. We don't want to sync originals for the full length duration clips. That would be massive. This one alone was 130 gigs and it wasn't even raw footage. I'll click open. As soon as I open it up, it goes to the cut page. I'm going to switch to the edit page right away. And you'll see in the lower right, it's automatically starting to sync down the proxies. Now this was, again, 131 gigs of footage. The proxies alone, it looks like it was something, a couple gigs or something. And it's getting those couple gigs really fast. The download speed for me right now is 100 megabytes per second. And just like that, it's done before I can even finish explaining. Let's look at the timeline. I'm going to the offline edit, and I can open the exact same timeline that I had opened on the other machine, at the remote machine. I don't have read-write access because I've already got this open on the other machine. So if you're new to cloud workflows, whoever's first in wins. I can see that one because there's initials on it that says someone's on this timeline. But also down here, I have a gray playhead, and I have lost control of all these tools up here. Basically, I can copy from this timeline. I could select stuff, copy, and paste it into my own timeline, but I can't make edit changes. If I try to drag something, that's basically how collaboration works. The other thing I want to point out is the remote machine only has access to proxies. So if I change the top right here to say disable all proxies, looks like everything's broken and offline. It's not. It's just saying you're telling it right now, I don't want to look at proxies, but proxies is all you got. So generally I would just say, hey, prefer the proxies or prefer originals, and then you'll be able to work with footage remotely easily. You also know, you see that purple bar above there, that purple bar says not that it's not rendered, it says you only have access to proxies for that media location right there, or for the clip that's below it in the timeline. So now that we have an idea how we sync the proxy files, how do we actually get the originals? Let's say this edit is completed and we just want the originals for just the frames used on the timeline. That's what we'll look at next over on the main machine where the footage is located, where it's originally stored. So I'm going to go back over there and we will click the timeline, which you can see I was in here first, so I have the read-write access to it. I will have it selected. Then I go to the File tab down to Media Management. And the Media Management tab allows me to trim unused frames and create new media files so that we can just sync these shorter new media files as originals in a proxy-only project. That's the key, okay? So it's proxy-only project, and we're going to create smaller media-managed assets that we bring back in. The workflow or the order does kind of matter here. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting the timeline I want to manage. I'm going down to Copy. I'm going to choose Use Media and Trim, and I like 4-frame handles because I'm cheap and I don't want to send a lot more than I need. 4-frame handles means 4 frames before the shot and after the shot, but it also includes if you have a cross dissolve that's a second, you would have a second plus the 4-frame handles because it knows it needs that extra second for the cross dissolve. If that makes sense. This is 4-frame extra from what was actually used on the timeline. And then I'll choose Use Project Name and Subfolders, and you can see you would go from 130 gigs down to 5 or 6 gigs. That's a lot more manageable. And this is the original pixel data, quality, timecode, all that from the longer versions. It's just you're not sending a bunch of extra garbage to the cloud and then having them download it. Now, the one piece of caution I will give to you on this is it only works with certain codecs in copy mode. It will work with basically any intra-frame or I-frame codec that I've come across. So Blackmagic RAW, of course, it's going to work with that. This is Sony XAVC-SI. It works with that really nice. So that's their larger video codec on the FX3, FX30, Sony A7 IV. That's what I use. But make sure you use XAVC-SI. If you choose the regular S, the older one that's a lower data rate, or the HS, the H.265 those are what are called long GOP codecs, and they don't work with this. They will work for some clips, but they won't work with all of them, and then you will have a broken workflow. So make sure you're shooting with an I codec, and if you're not, you have another option. You're not like out of luck. You can choose transcode instead. So any sort of long GOP codec, you're going to go to the transcode tab, go down to video, choose source resolution. so that you get the full quality, and then choose something like ProRes. You could use ProRes 4444, 44422 HQ, whatever makes sense. And you'll have to just sort of see what quality you're okay with doing. But you do need to do a transcode if it was originally a long GOP codec, because it just will not conform 100% from my experience. But since I use XAVCSI, I'm good. So I'm choosing copy instead, and it'll be a bit for bit clone. I'll click start. And what's happening right now is it's generating brand new media at the desktop location because it's a tutorial. And each time there's a cut, it's going to make a new file for me because I did not choose what's called consolidate multiple edits into one file. I want this as small as possible, so that's what you do. And then you bring it back in, and we'll see how that works. So I'm going to make a new bin over here, right click. Actually, let's choose master. Here's a new plus icon. We'll call this one finishing. In the finishing bin, the order of operations here does matter. And so what you want to do is you want to bring the footage in first, and then bring the timeline file that media management will always make for you. It was on my desktop. I'll go back to my desktop in my Finder. I've got this folder that's called Collab with Me. We'll generate a folder that's based off of your project name up there. And let's actually see how big this was. Let's see, Command I, we're looking at, 6 gigs of media for the 3-minute video. And it's the full, like 300 megabits per second quality, bit for bit. We want to bring the footage in first, so that's the key here. We're selecting just the pieces of footage in here. We're dragging them into a new bin so we can identify them easily. In fact, what I like to do is, these don't have a color on them. Any finishing files, I like to select them all, right-click, choose clip color, make them a different color so that I can know if I'm using the trimmed files, the shorter version of the files. And automatically, because in my project settings, we had turned on generate proxies automatically. These proxies are being synced so they can be viewed on the other computer. You can see as soon as they're transcoded. This is new in version 21. We have this background tasks option that shows what's going on in the background. Oh, a note on this. If you don't have enough RAM, you can't do background processes like this. So if you see it grayed out in your project settings, it's because you needed I think it's 24 gigs of memory or something. But pretty quickly, it's generating proxies for these, which I don't really need, but it's just part of the process. The next piece of the puzzle, obviously, it's going to upload these to the cloud as well. It's only, just a few more megabytes to send up. The next part of the process, after the trimmed media is brought into here, the easiest way to conform this is just bring that DRT in, and with the same bin selected that you brought all the footage in, it will conform against this bin right here of footage. What that means is just go to your desktop where it creates an automatic timeline when you do media manage, drag it into the bin, and it takes just a second, and automatically it's like, well, where are these files to link to that it should already be in there? They're in the same bin. Everything is good to go. You know it's looking at the shorter versions, one, because I colored them orange. You can also right-click on a file, say Find in Media Pool, and then right-click and say Reveal in Finder, which, that's the shorter file, much more manageable. The other thing you can do is, if you wanted to, you could come back and compare these bit for bit, if you don't believe me, by going to the other timeline, which I'll say, please manage me, 1. Select all those, Option, Lasso, Command C, come to the other timeline. In fact, let's call this one finishing. Go to the beginning, I'll add a new track, disable track 1, and you can come through here and you can just check time codes. So on the far right, if you turn on marker overlays, you'll see those time codes are in alignment between the two. Let's change this to prefer camera originals. And if you select these, turn them on and off. Turn them on and off with D. You can check to make sure, is the frame exactly the same? Was there a change in picture at all? No. The other thing you can do is select all the clips in the inspector, change composite mode to difference. It's an old conform trick to sort of see, is it black? Then it means there's no difference between those two. Obviously, you could take this into Fusion and go pixel per pixel, but I'm telling you, these are the exact same because it was a intra-frame codec. It was able to do this. If it wasn't, then you do need to make a slightly different flavor using a transcode to ProRes. All right, so now we're happy with all of that. The proxies have already uploaded for this new timeline. If I jump over to the other machine, which could be like the remote machine, the colorist machine. I'll come over to the project. I'll hit the refresh button because I haven't been over here in a little while. You can see I've made a finishing bin. I can double click the finishing timeline. It's orange. However, only the proxies got downloaded on this project. We don't have the originals. So how do we get the originals of just the clips on the timeline? We selectively sync them from the media pool. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the home machine on these orange clips, these finishing clips that we brought in. I will select them in the media pool, not on the timeline. Then you can right click, and this was new in DaVinci Resolve Studio 20. You can say sync original media. As soon as I choose that, it's basically saying just sync original media in a proxy only project for these selected clips. And down here at Blackmagic Cloud Sync, we can see these larger files. It's 5.69 gigabytes, which is still much, much less than the project original of like 130. That is now uploading to Blackmagic Cloud Storage so that it can be received on the other side. And you do need to receive it on the other side. It is like a two-way thing. You got to talk to who you're working with. Say, I need you to go sync the finishing bin, and it'll be done, and it'll be ready. So let's see. We got 6 out of 12 done. Get a sip of coffee out of my Purdue mug here. Okay, media is up to date at the home location as far as syncing these up to the cloud. Let's jump over to the remote machine. I still don't have them here because I didn't tell this other machine to download and sync these. So what I'll do is I'll just select the footage here in the bin. You could change this if you want to see list view instead. And you can see sort of the status of everything. There's a little cloud sync tab. I'm going to select them all with a shift click, right click on these ones, and also say sync originals for those as well. It takes like 10 to 20 seconds or something, I think, is when Resolve will pull the project to start to synchronize, which should be by now, I think. Let's come down here to this tab. There it goes. It just took a little bit longer than I was saying, and you can see it's initiated the download of the selectively chosen originals from the media pool, which is every single clip that you need from that timeline to work on for finishing, for color, for visual effects. Let's see how long it takes. The downloads seem to be much faster than the uploads. And I have bidirectional fiber internet, so I'm not sure if you get the same, but I'm getting pretty darn fast downloads. It was 122 megabytes per second from Blackmagic Cloud Storage here on the East Coast. So let's see what this thing finishes up. You should see, once this is done, the purple bar should be disappearing from your timeline, from your finishing timeline. And it says media up to date. Let's take a look. Shift Z to fit. I got no more purple over here. If I change the view to say prefer camera originals, that will swap everything over. Now we're looking at full like 4K or whatever your original resolution is for every single clip. If I go to the color page, you can start color grading however you'd like. Same thing with Fusion. That's the workflow, and it's just, now you have to know you are limited to the handles you generated when we did media management. So if I click a transition here and I drag to one direction of it, let's see, let's come in here and start to trim. Oh, this is a gotcha. So I actually have this project open on the other machine, so I don't have read write to this timeline right now. So I could either make my own bin and copy this into it. Basically, I know I'm in a read-only version of the timeline because it's gray, the playhead's gray, and I have lost control over all these over here, as well as in the bin. I double-click this and it says my initials from the other machine. All you gotta do is on the other machine, just leave that timeline, and it'll open it so it's available over here. So you go back and you say, hey, dude, get off my timeline. So it's a good idea to have another timeline for them to go to. So this is the home machine. So now I can jump back to the remote machine, or, you know, and then you'll see in this finishing bin right here, the access has been released. So I can double click the finishing timeline again, and now it turns orange. So if you needed to make an edit change or something, you should be able to roll the edit 4 frames one direction, C+4, and 4 frames the other direction, because we did 4-frame trim handles, which is always added on to existing duration. So you don't have to think of what the duration you need for a transition. It's just everything. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. There are other workflows that I do for publishing plates that use shot naming. Maybe that's of interest to you. We've got a tutorial that's linked, or others just about collaboration with DaVinci Resolve. And because there's always so much to learn, I'll see you in the next video.